Now, according to the latest World Drug Report released by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, around 275 million people used drugs worldwide in the last year. This is clearly a disturbing trend. Nigeria also takes a lead position in the world's drug problem today, as the menace of substance abuse has enveloped not only the young, but the extremely young and adults. As the world prepares to mark this year's International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking, the burden to fight this scourge not only rests on government, but also on individuals to actively participate in all actions that could stem the tide of this rapidly growing menace. The theme for this year, Share Facts on Drugs, Save Lives, not only aims to raise awareness on the dangers of drug abuse, but also strengthen action and cooperation in achieving the goal of a world-free drug abuse. So I have joining me in the studio, Director General, Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry, Dr. Dokun Adedeji. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much for bringing me.
We've always been talking about drugs, trying to raise awareness and so on and so forth. Why is it that drug still remains, raising its head up high in the country?
It's interesting when you said we've always been talking about it. What I have noticed in my time in Nigeria is that we do a topical presentation. This is World Drug Day, we're talking about it. Who's going to talk about it in another month? You see, the thing is, as long as there's no consistency of message, right, and then people getting the awareness on a regular basis, because this is becoming an epidemic, we're just going to be in it. If I just talk about the statistics we just read, about 3 years ago, the first statistic raised was that about 14.4 million Nigerians had used drugs in the past year, which was about 14.3%. Prevalence in Nigeria, global prevalence rate was 5.6. And then that's almost triple. And listening to the UNODC country representative a few days ago, he said that 14.4 has even gone to almost close to 20 million in Nigeria alone. And then so you can begin to understand, the way we talk about it is just like the way we talk about crime. This is a public health issue. It is not something that should be termed criminal, particularly for users and those petty people. I think we should change our approach to it and then begin to get an awareness more into the people than we do hitherto.
Well, is it possible, you said that, well, it can be made topical issues, especially when it's the day that it's being celebrated, to create awareness. But then is it possible for us to rid the world, the entire world, of drugs?
It's not possible.
Drug abuse.
It's not possible. We cannot eradicate substance abuse in the world, even any country. We can reduce it to a minimum. You see, the important thing is to understand, as long as this is considered a crime and is treated in that manner by indicting them, we will not get a headway. I mean, her ministry has said, one of the things, and I like what Dr. Marwa, General Marwa is doing now, trying to focus on demand reduction, which is what we should do. The moment, you see, the world should be geared towards demand reduction. If there's no demand, and then the supply will go down. But when you begin to look at supply, because of the lucrative nature of drug trafficking and business, it will always be there. They will always find a way. They're smart people. If you look at the ways in which these things are conveyed today, you will understand that it's so difficult. But I think our focus should shift a bit from going to arrest people. It's nice to arrest the barons, the big ones. The people we arrest today are not really the culprits.
Okay, so let's try to fish out, or let's try to point fingers towards those who assume to be the culprits. Sometimes, I mean, every time you are always exposed to media violence. Talk about what we see on television in terms of music, in terms of movie. We see people doing drugs. We see people abusing substances, and they make this look like that is the normal way of life. And this is subtly affecting the psyche of the younger generation and those who are exposed to this media violence. So what do you think should be done around that to ensure that people are not subliminally, affected?
You see, the approach is holistic. It is not unidirectional in many of the things we do. But again, I keep saying about Marwa because it's now come and is beginning to throw a searchlight on a wider spectrum, which is what we should do. What I'm saying is the media, I keep saying this, they have a major role, just like any segment of the society, parents, the church, the traditional institution. So we must have a way of connectivity. of all these sectors, and then there must be a strategic advance in dealing with it. Dealing with drug is not a staccato, it's not a knee-jerk response. It has to be well thought out, and it has to be well presented to the populace, and people must understand their you can't do it without getting the normal, ordinary people involved. And if you know, so it means that we must sit down, and the society must understand that they have a role to play. It's not, oh, government has to do this. It's not about government. Government can give policies, but government cannot stop you from taking drugs in your house. And so it's a matter of looking at, do we consider substance abuse a problem in Nigeria? The answer is no, except for maybe some people are making noise about it. The ordinary person does not. Look at alcohol. Alcohol is socially acceptable.
Do you think the ordinary person does not? Because some people, whenever they see you just smoking cigarettes, they tend to look at you like you're a drug addict, which may not be so.
You know, that's the challenge that I'm talking about. You see, the thing is a perception and is moral. You can't deal with this on a moral basis. Oh, you smoke, so it means. That's not the way to deal with it. This has become something that is so epidemic that, I mean, look, in the classification that we do in our ministry about drug use, we call some socially acceptable. You just mentioned cigarette, alcohol. If you see somebody drunk and falling in the gutters, you're not likely to worry too much. It will get up and go home.
Because they've seen it as a normal thing.
Absolutely. Why did we consider it normal? Because we socially accept it. And why do we also consider it normal? I've said to the companies that produce alcohol, if they want to have their advert, why don't they use their product, the man that's fallen into the gutter? If you want to make a product,
you mean they should use the byproduct, the effects?
Absolutely. If you want to advertise,
no, but that is why there is this warning there. The Federal Minister of Health warns that smokers are liable to die young. That's for for tobacco, and you know we have some of these warnings, and then there are times that we expose them. I mean that they are allowed to be advertised on television
in Nigeria.
In Nigeria,
okay.
There are certain stipulated times. So when it's evening, when the children are going home and they're going to sleep, that is when they tend to expose them to some of these advertisements. So do you think that's enough? That's enough way to reduce the level of
You see, you can write it. You can write it. Doesn't stop people from smoking, but let people make informed choices. People say drink responsibly. What is the meaning of drink responsibly? If I drink a carton and that is the way I drink, is that not, for me, I consider it responsible?
So you consider that ambiguous?
You see, the thing is, I'm not saying people should not make their products. Abroad, they still make their product. But let it do it in England, for instance. You cannot advertise soda, beverages, non-alcoholic beverages at a particular time, which is something that you've said. Do we enforce those kind of things? Not only. That is advertisement. But the thing is, the insidious nature or presence of this drug and the availability makes it easy for anyone to get. So that is media. We can look at media, but again, there are other pockets of things we need to look at.
For instance?
For instance, a patent medicine seller.
Right.
Why does she sell Lexotan? Why does she sell Benylin with codeine? Patent medicine. You see, there are categories. The pharmacist will tell you, we said in chemists, a pharmacist must be there. How many chemists have you been that you see in a pharmacist? You see, so what I'm saying is, as the pharmacists are involved, because they also should be directly involved, the medical doctors should be involved, all the agencies of government should be involved, and then the society, and then we begin to cascade it. It is not something we should take at, okay, let's do it. Look, I've said to people who are in policy making, let us take you to the drug joints. When you put faces to addiction, it begins to change your perception of what you need to do. We don't wait until it gets to us as personnel.
Right. Okay, let me quickly jump in here. That brings us to the story we just watched a while ago of a young lady, 21-year-old, what's her name? This Unilag student.
Right.
She confessed to, allegedly, that she killed the CEO of Super TV. And then in the narration, she said that they took roofies. That's Rohypnol.
Right.
And it's also, that particular drug is also referred to as date rape or something like date rape drug.
Yes.
So it means they must have got it from somewhere. They were in a certain building, maybe hotel. So it means they must have bought that thing, probably over the counter or maybe somewhere, some way. So If someone like that is taking that kind of a drug and being acted under the influence of substance, what do we say to this?
You see, let me tell you, one of the consequences of substance abuse is increasing trend in criminality. You see, that's one thing I say. We're going to use this girl now as a picture. Oh, everybody will make noise about it for 1 week. This is what goes on every day. People kill their parents. People steal. People rape. And is every day staring us in the face. She's only become an example, a topical example at this point in time. You mentioned Refnol. It's available. When it was banned, when codeine was banned, some of us said this doesn't make sense. Because what you are driving the business underground. Before codeine was banned, people were buying it in normal chemists for about less than 1,000. Today, you will buy codeine for about 5,000 to 10,000. It's still available.
And it becomes more attractive.
It becomes
attractive to
absolutely,
those
because the more you put an emphasis on it, because of what you have done, you are driving underground, and then you put it's the same.
So are you saying they shouldn't be banned? They should be allowed in society? Is that what
no, you see, the thing is not about being banned, it's about being controlled and strictly controlled, not about interdiction or picking up people and arresting them. What are the protocols in place for these things? And then we enforce it. You know, the danger of enforcement is that you turn it an avenue of corruption for people, then they arrest and then you give money. Until, you see, this thing is so fundamental to society that it's not just deal with drug. What are the associated factors on the guardian issues that we need to deal with as a measure of value system? If we don't deal with that complete value system, all these things will just be showing their faces in different formats. And then we'll be pursuing shadows. When you are unidirectional about the things you do, then you leave the whole gamut open.
That brings me to my earlier question as regards what we see on TV, what we're exposed to on TV. Certain music are not allowed on TV, but then you will get them on the internet. You get them, you know, peer-to-peer, they share it. And there was a time when the issue of drug abuse, the issue of drugs was made very prominent. And a lot of pundits were saying, take the likes of Naira Marley and those who do drugs on TV, maybe not in private homes or on TV, take them as ambassadors to chart the cause against drug abuse. And that seems not to have, you know, been taken.
You know why I smiled? Honestly, with due respect, there is no facet of Nigerian society that is not immersed in substance abuse. So it's so difficult to find an ambassador in any sector. So if you're going to use someone you are not sure about because he does music and is popular with young people, you may just be endearing that use into, because some who know them when they go to their media say, they're using this guy. If they use him as ambassador, as a girl, they do, but why not? We need to be very careful. You see, we're being careless about this issue. I think waking up now is important, and then begin. I'm not saying that, look, in sports, in entertainment, in music, those are the veritable cesspools of addiction. And so we need to be very careful the person used as ambassador. We must be sure. Are we willing, before we choose them, to test them on a regular basis, and then we're sure? Do we check them and know their background and know that these people are truly free so that we can use them as ambassadors? For instance, people that we can use as ambassadors that will maybe be a bit free, people that have done drugs before, that are doing well in society, we know some of them, they can be used as ambassadors. But you see, the issue is issue of stigma. If we don't deal also with stigma, it will be so difficult. Look, let me say this. There's a book written by Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden. The title of the book is Beautiful Things. I wish all parents in Nigeria can read the book. You will see the support that was given by the family that helps this young man to leave drugs. We don't have that here. No big Nigerian parent will come out on TV and say, my son does drugs, because he thinks he will lose face with his friend, he will lose face in the... Until we change our approach to that, when Professor Ransom Kuti said many years ago that my brother died from the consequence, did you see how people responded to HIV/AIDS and people began to come out, and then that was the human face. So until we also find people like that that are unable to withstand, and then you begin to see acceptability, and then people can come out and say, look, I have an issue. Look, there are a lot of people with substance abuse problems in Nigeria, but they don't know where to go.
Well, that's to say that so many people are not aware of the fact that, okay, you might be stigmatizing this person if you acting in certain ways. So on whom is this responsibility should we put it? Where do we say, okay, this is what you should be doing individually? How do we individually play this role? Parent, myself, yourself, and what should we do?
No, as I said, the issue to deal with substance abuse is a collective responsibility, but in different facets of roles. Parents, primarily because they are the primary connection of these people. They are the ones these people come away from home. So parents must know about substance abuse. Parents must know about drugs available. Parents must also spend time with their children.
That's the essence I'm saying. The point I'm trying to bring out of you is that who should educate them on this?
I mean, there are societies, the government is trying through, we can improve it.
Right.
I know Lagos State tried something because we worked with Lagos State Minister of Sports, and we helped them to train some people who were going to schools and then exposing young people to it about awareness, creating awareness. And there's a department in the NDLA that is in charge of demand reduction. They are the ones who produce literature, and then they go. And then so the education must go from different levels and then get all of us. I mean, as I said to you, what the media can do is probably have a feature, and then maybe it runs for like a quarter talking about drugs and then showing examples of, and then we go to the joints and then bring the picture and let people see. If we do, there was a film by Lola Fanikaude many years ago, Mind Bending. Wow. I know what that did in terms of, so those are some of the opportunities that are open to us.
Well, let's see how we are going to be exploring all of these, advice that you've actually read out. Thank you so much for coming on TVC Breakfast. Director General, Christ Against Drug Abuse Ministry, Dr. Dokun Adedeji. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.